international NGOs and other national NGOs coming to us that they want to come and do one intervention or the other. We've always referred them to the ministry, and of course, I believe with this kind of structure, it will strengthen coordination. It will make us to be more efficient, to judiciously utilize our scarce resources, and to better align our goals and objectives. Some of the issues here discussed are issues like sustainability. You need to have any project that comes, before it goes there, should be, inbuilt sustainability. When you engage, the locals, especially people around that area, even after the exit of the project, government should be able to continue. And one key difference we had in the last 1 year is the high political will and commitment of His Excellency, the Governor, in terms of, for my sector, primary healthcare. We've seen a lot of commitment, a lot of resource allocation. Recently, His Excellency has completed the upgrade and renovation of 102 primary healthcare facilities, including infrastructure, equipment, staff quarters, water supply, off-grid electricity. And he just this week, he has directed that we should select another 34 facilities for upgrade. What he wants to do is to ensure that we have 361 functional PHCs. And he has invested a lot. Mr. Karan, you remember that about 3 weeks ago, we had the flag off of the distribution of RUTF. Katsina State Government provided 200 million as counterpart funding for procurement of RUTF and other nutritional supplements and commodities to address, you've talked about malnutrition. We need to be better coordinated so that we address these issues. Yesterday we had validation meeting for the just concluded SMART survey. When we compared the data of 2023 and 2024, it's scary. You know, a lot of issues, especially in Daura zone, where we don't have insecurity. But the level of poverty is very, very high. And all our partners are moving towards the insecure areas, the southern part of the state. Everybody is saying, okay, we are coming from Maiduguri. We are coming to support. We say, no, let us be guided by the data. So this kind of conversation, I believe, will go a long way in making sure that we align and focus so that we'll be able to achieve our objectives. And we are, like I've said, we are lucky His Excellency listens, and he's willing to do anything that will improve the lot of Katsina people. So as we are developing our annual operational plan and the strategic plans, I quite agree that we should have a template that we can feed into the Katsina State Development Management Board. Should be able to come up with a template so that we can feed all the strategic plans and the annual operational plan. We can have better synergy, better coordination, better judicious use of resources. So we completely align with this, and we hope that this will translate into better health outcomes to the entire people of Katsina State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That to also be harmonized so that there will be a central body that will be reporting to the government. Yes, we will have our courtesy calls to brief His Excellency biannually, but then since the mandate of the board is to harmonize, they can monthly say this is what everybody is doing in this regard. I don't know if this is making any sense to you. So if you want to chip in and provide some key comments about the kind of information as a commitment to the board that, okay, we will be providing M&E report for every month or every quarter so that the templates will be harmonized. Yes, you want to give somebody a mic? Okay. So while the conversation was going on, we have Malan Napiu with us. Malan Napiu is the project coordinator for NGKs in Katsina State. Join me to welcome him there. Thank you very much. Okay, so the floor is open. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Shamsu. And I want to take off from where you stopped now. You know, I mentioned the triple nexus the other time. we cannot just concentrate on development, or we say we want to concentrate on humanitarian. So as we develop this pillar, let us have the humanitarian pillar. We link it up with the development pillar. You are very right, Dr. Shamsu. And in our coming project, we look at the frontline LGAs, the pilot of the WHO guidelines. So if data is saying this, we should find a way to really connect all of this. Because if we have almost 12 or 13 LGAs where people are food insecure, if you look at the food security analysis, the CH analysis, the one in March, population in phase 5, which is farming, but we have people in emergency. And the definition of emergency, it means people are even selling their productive assets just to eat. That is what it means. And people are even endangering their life by going to unsafe location just because they want to eat. So if we have this zone that you just mentioned now, and we have this situation in other zone, it means we have to develop the plan and the reporting framework in such a way that we have the humanitarian and we deliberately link it to the development aspirations of the state. So in that document you want to develop, let us have it. How many people are supported in the humanitarian sector, and what percentage of them do we move into the development so that they can sustainably live their life?
Thank you very much. So key, actually, because it is here I'm hearing that while we think the safe location is safely, we are now recording indicators of poverty. Ordinarily, me, who is not a health expert, we think when there is no crisis in an LGA, the indicators of economic should improve. But you can see the professionals are now telling us that the LGAs that are not in conflict region have more poverty indicators, which is something that really needs to come up. I mean, and actually with all level of seriousness, this is a call for collaboration, right? For example, we are happy to hear this. What we will do is the current tracking we are doing for CCT, we will say in this LGS, tell us the statistics of the high risk areas in terms of poverty, so that the girls in those communities will get scholarship. One, and then Nigerian for Women can now come in and say, can we train their mothers on SMEs? It is not only about giving them health support, but everybody needs to work together to address the issue head on. So it is good that we are having this conversation. Definitely next week we are going to reach the Minister of Health and ask for collaboration about this data. Before we close our tracking, we already validated, we want to give 48,000 households scholarship for 3 years every term. So it is good to know out of this number, how many can we capture from this already validated data, that so that we are not only addressing transition, but also addressing poverty in the making. This is why this kind of conversation is actually important, so that while you think you're actually supporting people, but you have people in a more severe need based on realities from another region. If you leave me, I would say Badari is more prone to poverty. But now I'm hearing that a place where gun doesn't even sound are not eating. So you can now see where the correlation of this conversation is really, really, really very important. Thank you very much.
I think, PC, that's why it's very important. We cannot overemphasize the need to conduct our needs assessment across all the various LGAs. Can we have one house, please? There's a very, very big need for us to, prioritize our needs across the indices of insecurity, across the indices of poverty. There are so many other factors that could make an LGA or a community prone to, subdevelopment. If we don't highlight these things, we won't get it right with them. We'll just be putting in our money where it is not needed. So I think that should also count as an action item out of this conversation. So as this conversation is going on, I would just want to, summarize some key aspects that we need to all carry forward after this. We're not just having this meeting and it's ending here. No. We want to be held accountable for whatever is happening here. You will also be held accountable. We as the Development Management Board will work towards simplifying the development priorities of the state through the development priorities of the various ministries. That's one. Secondly, we need to talk about communication. How do we? That's, I think, basically it for me. If any other thing comes up, then before we round up.
Thank you, Madam. So the mic is, please can I count 1 or 2, closing this conversation? 1, 2, Prof, 3, Red Cross. WFB, and then the Sawash. Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
So
My name is
can you
Abubakar
speak for 2
Abdulhamid.
minutes, please?
Yes,
Thank
my
you.
name is Abubakar Abdulhamid. I'm Deputy Project Coordinator for Agile Project Katsina State. I'm very much happy for being here today in this very important meeting, because looking at the Agile project design, it is a multi-sectoral project. The components comprises so many MDAs and the agencies in the state, like Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and we have a lot of indicators to achieve set by the project. And this is the first time of having opportunity to meet in one room with different projects implementing in Katsina State. So I want to make appeal. Maybe in the subsequent gathering like this, if you can have a short presentation per project, so that we will know the area of crossover our collaboration. For instance, I vividly heard the project coordinator of ACRISAL that they are addressing issue of climate change in Katsina State. And in Agile project is a very vital and huge component addressing climate issues in Katsina State too. And we are supporting poor households by small incentives so that they will allow their children to be coming to school. And I noticed there is projects working in identification, those LGS and even the households who are that poverty line. It is a Herculean task for us at the beginning to have the number of households who are the poor of the poorest communities in the state. In those days, we have to liberate on social register data to start up. But now, if we can have the information per project or per NGO, it will aid each and every project here, maybe to develop the concepts, the activities that will directly inform the policy objective of Katsina State, so that at the same time, we will be reporting indicators achieved per each and every project here, which is a replica to the state policy objective. So on this note, I want to make that request. In the subsequent event, let's have a summary or information about mode of operation per individual. It will help a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abubakar. Thank you very much. This is very key. It's been noted here by Mariam. Thank you. Afisa.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Once again, I'm Halil Mohammed, the ACRISAL Katsina State PC. In terms of this discussion we are doing on the maintenance plan for the project implemented in Katsina State, I want to share one of my experience. We did one project around 2004 to 2000 and let's say 8, where we have the CDD approach, that is community-driven development approach, which any project you are going to execute in the local in the community, it's been driven by the community. That is bottom-top approach. With this strategy, the people of the community are the one who say they need this social community or this social project to execute, which is the priority of their of their community. So with this, when you facilitate and prioritize their need, then you can come up with the most priority projects they need to serve their communities. With this, it will give you the evidence of ownership to the community. During the implementation, there is so many strategies in that implementation that where you can constitute some various subcommittees within the community, like operation and maintenance, like conflict resolution committee, like procurement committee and others. In that regard, all these subcommittees are being constituted within that community. With this, let me give you a simple example of the, let's say, solar-powered borehole. When you construct within the committee, they have the operation and maintenance committee where they can collect some user fee and often an account to put this 5 naira or 10 naira, depends on what they decide. So once they collect this amount and they deposit it in their personal account, community account, if that borehole get any fault at any time, they have their reservation in their bank account. So they just take it and use it. And the people will feel that this project is their own.
The ownership is
That's
there.
ownership.
Yeah.
And even in that project, also another advantage is that there is community contribution. They must pay at least 5 to 10% in cash or in kind,
Yeah.
which tentatively shows that there is ownership because they give out their money and contribute and implement that project so that they can look for it.
Yes.
So I think in terms of the sustainability plan, we must incorporate this so that it will help. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Akrisal. Just the saying, whatever is for the people should be with the people. Thank you very much. Honorable Commissioner, the second one.
Okay,
I'm
thank
looking
you
at
very
the
much.
Third person is, oh, go ahead. Okay, yes, thank you. No, you are the second, I'm counting the second.
Okay, thank you very much again for the opportunity. I wanted to mention it the first time I talked earlier on during the program, but I waited to hear the conversation. What I think is missing, which to be honest with you, is the main reason why I came here, is to listen about technical support, because much of what we have been discussing is about bringing money, spending the money, the community, the this, the that, the what. In fact, that's the reason why we're only talking about Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health.
Health, exactly.
There are a lot of opportunities, loads of them out there. For instance, talking about urban development, talking about climate change, talking about all the issues that we normally discuss in the international stage about developing areas. So the reason why I mention issue of technical support is that there are opportunities that we can tap in out there. But the problem we're facing is we don't have the capacity within our ministry, we have to be honest, to pursue these opportunities, even to put application for funding and what have you. And within this, particularly UN organizations provide a lot of technical support for you to reach out to organizations that have money so that you can bring in the money. So I believe Katsina State Development Board has started changing the narrative. This is one important critical aspect of creating the agency, and the agency is, I can say so far, is doing well in terms of providing technical support to MDAs, government MDAs. So going forward, since the ES, all the EDs are here, I think I will advise us to put more effort in providing this technical support to different MDAs and agencies so that they can pursue this funding, they can pursue this partnership, and you can liaise with other organizations like the UN organizations. We have so many, loads of them, NGOs and what have you, so that they can help us to provide the necessary technical support to pursue this thing. We all know how it works, particularly if you work or if you have done things within the development space. You know it. If you don't have the know-how of pursuing these things, you will never get them, no matter how you try. So since the development board, Katsina State Development Board, has started bringing in these guys, let's leverage on this. Get the partnership. Focus more on the technical support rather than bringing in money. If you think about bringing money, it can take you ages to bring the money. It can take you 2, 3, 4 years. By then, maybe you'll not find me here, But if you develop the capacity of people to pursue these things, then 10 years down the line, civil servants can do this thing, can pursue them, and you have strengthened the institutions to do these things, rather than focusing on let's get this money. That money will never come. I will tell you that for free. So please, let's focus more on engaging MDAs, developing capacities within MDAs. And I know you have well, the time is going. Shall I stop? Oh, okay. So, okay, okay. So, yeah, I have to time myself because I know it's Friday and people want to leave. I know. The development board is just starting, not too long ago, like about a year ago. But so far, I can say so good. But I will urge you as a board to have maybe a desk, kind of, maybe assign those desks to different MDAs and get these energetic young people. I'm still young, I know. But get these young, energetic people that will sit down, go all over the way looking for these opportunities. If you get them, try to identify the right people that can provide us with technical support to pursue them. Within a year, you will be surprised the amount of funding and things that you will be able to drive here. Once again, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to come in early next time. I have to remember people that will. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, Minister of Lands. That is actually a fact. Technical support, capacity building, making the system to work for itself without much of external support is really important. The more reason why we also need to, after this meeting, agree with all the development partners here across all that. I don't know the nomenclature, but I know that we have a component on system strengthening, making the government system to work. This is an opportunity where all of these kind of resources should come in to build the existing government structure, so that at the end of the day, we work even better than the way we expect. I mean, I don't know if this is making any sense. Yes.
So I just wanted to add to Commissioner Land's contribution. So it goes back to earlier what we were saying about identifying gaps. And again, another part of the mandate of the board is identifying areas where we need capacity building. So when we're requesting feedback and being open and honest about the challenges that you're facing and areas of maybe improvement, this is where, when you find recurring themes, then you can group them and then look at what interventions can then come in. And I think this is where maybe I would have an ask for the development partners, where if there is a recurring issue maybe you're facing, if there are interventions or support you can provide and suggest, that's also helpful too. And also on the same end, if MDAs identify issues as well and they say, okay, this is what we need, that also helps us as well. So we can also do kind of our homework and like, okay, we're seeing a recurring theme. This is maybe how we go forward about addressing it. But also if there are things that already you can bring to our attention that is available, that's also a way then we can key into that. And that just kind of saves us time, and then we can move forward with that intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ES. And this is really key. I mean, there is just a critical question we can all ask ourselves. In the next 5 years, if you are not on your seat, are you expecting that you are building capacity of somebody better than you to deliver more on that? The more things degenerate, the more the blame comes back to you. So when that African syndrome of saying, people telling you when you leave office that immediately you leave, everything stops, it is your fault. It's actually your fault. If you have built a good system, it is supposed to deliver better than you, so it will be like you build a system that is more sustainable.
Sorry, just as you were speaking, I remembered something. So it goes back to, again, sustainability, right? So sustainability is also about institutionalizing processes. So that's what we're trying to do. So it's not just like, okay, it's a nice one-off, let's do a show, everyone sees it. No, it's like it has to continue. And whether you train a few people and then they roll it out and you monitor that process as well, and it's reiterative. There's ways of doing it. Like you can even do it as basic as like, okay, you do one day training, you have a recording, then it's accessible. But you don't have to keep bringing people around the table. It's there and it's accessible. So it's a way of maybe having an online portal or something of that nature. So these are a lot of things that we're looking at as a board. Like our mandate is huge. So even about having data in general. When we say data, it's stats, but also information. It's all data. And there's sometimes issues of like gaps with that as well. I know when different maybe partners might have information or MDAs might have information, but there's also gaps. There's the issue of finding and kind of closing that as well. So that's something also we're looking to do. And we're speaking to some partners as well, how to do that, and then bring the relevant stakeholders and then rolling that out forward. So the way we want to do things is like, okay, we've identified the issue, we've addressed it, but then how going forward can people then re-access it and have that knowledge management so it's not lost. And again, a lot of things are being talked about here, but if you ask anybody outside this room, they don't know it's happening. So how do we publicize it? How do we document it? We should have things like case studies. So if something has worked well, okay, let's share that. If something hasn't worked so well, you can also share that too, because that's the lesson learned. Are we doing that? Because anytime you have a conversation, it's usually when you speak to the right person, you find out what's actually happening on ground. But exactly. So you're there asked, you have to find the right person, but the way we should be doing it is capturing it in a way that it's accessible. And it goes back to the fact that yesterday we talked about Katsina State joining OGP, the Open Government Partnership. So it's to kind of encourage this process of being more open, because we're not here to call anybody out. We want the state to be successful, and by the end of this administration to be like, okay, we've moved forward. We're not regressing, but actually there's improvement in whatever indicates, whether it's SDGs or human capital development. But if we're not honest with ourselves, we're just going to keep repeating these conversations and having these gatherings. But what are the outcomes? Where do we want to go and drive it? So I think it's just kind of all hands on deck. So where we can get resourcing, when I say resourcing, that's human, also funding, and also with the little that we have, how do we get as much impact? So let's just kind of keep reiterating that process. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Executive Secretary. That's very key, the alignment. To think about sustainability from yesterday is very important in this project. So after you.
Hi, everyone. I think the ES has already touched on some of the things that I wanted to say. It's just regarding data, because for someone like myself, that operates like on the other side of the world, sometimes when you try to access funding to support, Nigeria, for example, some of the questions they normally ask is, how many people are you looking to support? And when you try to find something online, there's literally nothing to find online. So when we're trying to do like capacity building, like what the uncle there is saying about training the people of the community, maybe we should try to implement how you can train the locals and how to gather data as well, because every individuals have their kind of structure on how they can gather their own data, because they might not be technically savvy in terms of using computers, but if you teach them in a way, because they know the community, they know how many people are in a certain homes, they might be able to collect that data. Them and expertise from your office or any right office can then go to that community and be like, okay, how many people do you have? Them have a platform where we can be able to access all this data. So I think it's really important. If not, we'll be missing out on a lot of funding, because people want to see how many people you're trying to impact and fund this yet.
Thank you very much. Without data, we wouldn't have been here. So really, data must speak for every single intervention we are doing. Thank you. IOM?
Thank you again. Again, Jean from IOM. Like I said last intervention, that we work for migrants. IDPs are migrants, and all people moving from here, point A, point B. So for that area, the contribution of IOM, as you know, we are in country in Nigeria. Wherever IOM is present, we take the lead of tracking the data of the displaced people. So for Nigeria, IOM is the lead for collecting the data of IDPs. So the data are available. Anytime you want to use the data for the IDPs, wherever they are, we can share with you that information. It is available on the website, but if you can also request, we can send you the link or forward you those data anytime you can use them. The same, for example, for the flood which has occurred last 2 months, we also have the data for the affected people. Those data are available on IOM website. So please go and consult or request, we can still provide you. We work with the national people of the country to collect those data. And sometimes we involve SEMA, NEMA team and other teams on humanitarian. We work together, and IOM consolidate the data and publish those data so they are available in that area. Another thing I wanted to request is I support the idea of capacity building. Yes, technical support can come, but we would like to know the capacity building. We are talking just capacity building. Where? For what? So every MDA need to identify exactly the area where they need the capacity building. The resources are there. We can find some resources, but sometimes we have difficulties. You go to a ministry, you can ask a ministry, I want to provide a capacity building to your ministry. Can you tell me where we can support you? For example, we want to support the ministry to build trust between the community and the ministry. Can you tell me which area we can intervene? And you don't find. They will tell you just drill a bore. So if that is the capacity building, I don't know. So I know we are talking about capacity building. Please, since you are going to collect the strategic plan from every MDA, we hope that those strategic plans are coming from the bottom to the office, rather than people in the office thinking. They are not accessing the area, but they just think, and they design a project. So in reality, the project is not corresponding to the reality on the ground. That's why with our project we are doing, and on the piece, of course, we go directly to the community, work with the community, they do the action plan, we train them how to identify the mapping their needs, and then they come up with the 5 main priorities. Then we can build from those priorities from the bottom. So please advise the MDAs to consult with the people in the community, in the local government, the district, the ward, the community themselves, to come up with those needs which can be part of the priority, and also capacity building at that level also is needed. That's my message.
Thank you very much, IOM. This is quite so true, especially because one thing that capacity building will help to address is, one, to even understanding whether what we are doing is right. We need capacity to even understand where we are going. The second thing is, as you build capacity of the system to respond, gradually you reduce duplication and you save money. Because time and again, it is people that use either wrong or right data to decide where government implement projects. If they have more capacity, they can think. They can tinker on some strategies to say, this may not lead us to getting a result. And at the end of the day, there will be value for money, because those who are operating the system understand the system and they know when the system is not working. Just like a theory of change. When you tell yourself where you want to be in the next 2 years based on evidence, by media, you should be able to understand whether or not you are going to reach there at a certain level. And the data must speak. If you want to address poverty, to reduce it by 20% in 3 years, and by 1.5 years, you are only 3 years, your theory of change will come back and tell you, look, if you continue this, you will not even reach half by the end of the period. Then you come back to drawing board only with capacity. So really, whatever the magic we should do, capacity building should be a key thing across all levels, so that we know how to report the progress. Red Cross final, then we have the Executive Secretary's presentation.
Yes,
I will come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this gathering is also timely, but a lot have been said, but without minding the safety and security of ourselves and the people we work for. I think on that note, we are here to assist and come in and see how best we can synergize with the concerned office, especially in safer access, damage and need assessment, psychosocial support, trauma, disaster management, and first aid. This is what we do, and this is what we specialize in. Despite we are into social community and social mobilization, issue of contact tracing and what have you. And I think Dr. Shamsuddin is primary health care. To the best I know, he's the one that I work with directly. He's such type that if we want to work, we don't have to go to his office. All he needs to be informed, either whatever medium. You can call him, he will just say, give me the details. We give him the detail and he gave the go ahead. So I think if you can have people like them, it will go a long way in shaping the whole process of the state. Second part of is that I think the board can also have full of technical experts. It will go a long way, so that if any of the NGOs coming in to look for capacity building in procurement, capacity building in this, capacity building in that. We already have an existing full where each and every expert is there. It's just a matter of see how they can connect and start talking. Then I think if you can be having a quarterly meeting of this kind, it will go a long way, because except otherwise, issue of emergencies may likely to arise. Then we see the possibility of fusing the whole process. Then lastly, I think the board need to have a strategic development plan on its own, so that each and every donor partner will also fuse in its own activities for better Katsina. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Red Cross. Like you rightly mentioned, safety is very important. In the last 2 years, most of the reports coming from especially security agencies about crisis and conflicts, especially in the frontline LGS, it will interest you to know that about 18% of death or wounds coming from those LGS are not as a result of direct attack, as a result of low capacity of the communities to identify early warning, to save themselves during the conflict, or to provide first aid in the areas of need. So really, non-kinetic capacity building is important to these communities, because we are already talking about resilience, where you need to manage certain problems by yourself before support come in. And it is good that we are thinking of building the capacity of the community members on resilience, disaster preparedness and management, so that they can be able to manage that themselves. One of the young guys that was given an accolade in Borno was a guy who learned swimming and during flooding, and he saved so many people during the crisis, even without any aid, because of some skills to manage the system. So it is good that we also think disaster. As much as we go to the communities, you can't stop disaster from happening. So it's good that we're having this conversation. So at this point, I would like to pause the discussions and have the presentation of the Executive Secretary of the Development Management Board. As earlier mentioned by my colleague Mariam, it was supposed to come earlier. It would have reduced the chances of some of the, but then we wanted to do a bottom approach so that we have some key insight. I mean, all of these comments are very valuable and they are very important, especially the need to continue to sustain this by quarterly conversation, so that we also continue to talk about what is happening. Is the presentation ready? Okay, can you flash it up, please? Thank you very much. So I would like to welcome the Executive Secretary of the Development Management Board, Haji Bilkisu Suleiman Ibrahim, who is going to tell us more about the mandate of the board and what are our expectations. Thank you very much.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. So I guess today, I'll just say standing on existing protocol. I'm sure you covered it earlier before I came in. So I just wanted to also recognize everybody from the INGO community, and thank you for coming. Like I said, we've started to meet with some of you, but we want you to be more regular faces at the board. So we welcome you anytime. I know we've done some engagements like with Red Cross. You've done engagement with us over the last couple of months. I know, Laurent, you've also visited the office, and UNDP we engaged you with. And UNICEF, we met with your colleague Fatima as well. But we want to continue these conversations and keep meeting all of you. I also just want to say, just the fact that you're all here is also a testament to your commitment to development. And we want to continue to have that with you, and just to kind of continue that conversation as well, and want to have a more streamlined approach. So any suggestions are welcome, like we've been saying throughout this session. And I also just want to say the key purpose of this is coordination and synergy, and to have a better way of doing that. So I think we've also just kind of covered these things, but I just kind of want to re-emphasize it, and the fact that, because in-state government is committed to that, and to support you in that process as well, but also for you to support us in terms of this strengthening of partnerships going forward. And I think this is also like a learning opportunity as well. And I think your presence in terms of your international reach is also key in this regard, in terms of what we said, capacity building. Because there are things that within the state and within Nigeria that we have things to offer and can be learned about. But also at the same time, when you reach out to others, you can also learn from them. And I think that's just important to keep continuing having that approach of engaging within in-house and outside. So I want to welcome you all again. So I'll just go through the presentation which is kind of going to give you an overview of the board itself and its activities and what we're trying to achieve. So I'll just open that up. So I'll just read from the board because I can't see it on here. So in terms of the overview, so KTJB is a dynamic institution established to spearhead sustainable and inclusive development throughout Katsina State. And it serves as a central coordinating body, strategically aligning development initiatives, mobilizing resources, and fostering collaboration amongst various stakeholders. So that's what we've been talking about today in terms of our various areas of our mandate. So we're trying to prioritize as we build up, but these are different things that we've been doing and focusing on as a board in order to do. So in terms of our vision and statement as well, so our vision is to be a beacon of sustainable development, Katsina transforming the state into a thriving, environmentally sustainable and economically vibrant community. And then our mission is to coordinate and implement innovative development programs and projects that foster economic growth and social and to provide social equity and environmental stewardship across Katsina State. And also improving partnerships and resources for the well-being of all. And so that's something that we're also trying to highlight here as well in terms of our conversation. So in terms of our core values, so you can see we've got a number of core values up on the screen. So one of them is integrity and transparency. And then in terms of our other core values are accountability and results orientation, and also inclusivity and equity, and innovation and adaptability. So as you can see, it's all about making sure that we have an open process, but also we look at how we're achieving certain KPIs, and also encouraging that everyone is involved. So yesterday we had our CSO engagement, so that's more focused on the grassroots level. So again, I've mentioned your international reach, so we want to have that kind of synergy and engagement that everybody is around the table and everyone is involved in the process, and that we continue to have this reiterative process of just engaging everybody and having those continued conversations. And in terms of innovation and adaptability, this is again where it comes to lessons learned, and you're talking to different partners and making sure that they're involved and also learning from them and how maybe we can do things differently, what's worked well, what hasn't worked so well, and just being open about that conversation. And then sustainability. And then we've talked about, when it comes to sustainability, prioritizing environmentally sustainable practices in development projects to ensure long-term benefits and resource conservation. But also sustainability is also about how we go about doing things to institutionalize processes. So we're trying to put in best practice and good practice as well. And then collaboration and partnerships. So fostering strong partnerships with all stakeholders to achieve shared development goals. And I think that's something that we all, like I've mentioned, we're all committed to. So just make sure we continue to build on that, and we review that periodically. So just make sure that we're on course, and if there's anything we need to adapt. And then excellence, striving for the highest standards of performance and continuous improvement in managing development projects. So just making sure we're always doing our best. Like for me, I've always said, I want Katsina State to be that model state that everyone can look to and say, we're doing what's supposed to be done, and we're kind of the case study that people look to. But we have to be willing and open to just be honest with ourselves in terms of where we're at as a baseline and where we're trying to get to, and continue to measure that. So in terms of our strategic objectives, is to identify and prioritize development needs across sectors. So that's again where we talked about engaging with the MDAs and seeing where the gaps are, where their priorities are, and just to continue to feed into that. And then mobilize resources effectively to support development initiatives. So that's where we can see, okay, where can we get, funding, support, and where the priorities are. Strengthen coordination and collaboration amongst stakeholders. So having forums like this helps to do that periodically. So we're making sure we're all on the same page. And if there are any difference of opinion, we can also talk about that and why are we there and how do we kind of resolve those things. And monitor and evaluate the impact of development programs. So are we on track? And if not, why not? What do we need to do differently? And then promote sustainable and inclusive development practices. So just making sure that when it comes to capacity building or periodically reviewing, okay, what is the best practice? What are kind of, like we have UNGA taking place, so what's kind of the development agenda for globally, and how are we kind of keying into that as well as our development objectives as a state. So I'll go into the breakdown of the organization and how it's kind of broken up. So we have 4 departments. So that's economic development and investment, which focuses on stimulating economic growth, attracting investment, and supports key sectors. That's headed by Dr. Kabir Ali, as he's just stepped out. But and then we have the infrastructure development department, which oversees the planning, development, and maintenance of critical infrastructure across the state, which is headed by Dr. Jamil Osman. And then we have social development department, which focuses on improving the social well-being of the people through targeted programs and initiatives, which is headed by Dr. Zainab Musa Saeed. And then development partners, that serves as a primary liaison between the KTDMB and various development partners, ensuring effective collaboration and resource mobilization, which is headed by Mariam Musa Yahya, as you all know. So, and then this kind of talks about my, in terms of my role as well, in terms of being the executive secretary, is kind of more of the overseeing of the whole operations, and just in terms of the various sectors as well that I've talked about earlier with the different departments. It's just to kind of explain it a little bit more, it's a lot more cross-cutting than what it says on the tin, if that makes sense. But that's something that I think with time you'll get to know the scope of the work of the board. And maybe these are the areas that we're focusing on initially just to kind of key in. But as you engage with us, you'll see there's more areas we can kind of collaborate and partner on. And the shared vision for this is to collaborate with all stakeholders, including civil society, and in committing to realizing the vision of prosperous and equitable and sustainable Katsina state, and as well as INGOs as well. So it's just making sure we just continue to iterate that process, because we don't want to have a siloed approach. We just want to always, if there's a conversation happening, we're bringing it back to the table saying, okay, this is where we're at, this is how everyone then feeds in, and then we take it forward and how to implement it and then review it regularly. So this kind of gives you an overview of the structure of the organization. As I mentioned earlier, the office reports directly to His Excellency, and this is where you can kind of avoid a lot of the issues or any kind of challenges that you're facing, because we're able to take that up very quickly. So by referring things to the board, we can just kind of fast track things for you. So whether it's providing a meeting, you want to meet relevant stakeholders for a particular intervention, or you want to find information on something, like we said, it can be quite difficult to get data or to find. So maybe we can just bring the right people around the table so they can just give you that verbally. So again, we'll just try and facilitate that and fast track that for you. So calls to action. So investing in a state. So inviting potential investors and development partners to explore the vast opportunities within the state. And then also highlighting KTDMB's role in facilitating investments and ensuring conducive business environment. So this is just more about the other areas of work that the board does as well when it comes to investing in the state itself. But then also partner with KTDMB, and this is more of where the INGOs come in. So encourage collaboration with KTDMB to leverage its expertise, networks, and resources to achieve shared development goals. Emphasize the board's commitment to transparency, accountability, and results-oriented approaches. And this is where, again, depending on maybe the INGO in question, you'll have more of a synergy with a particular department, and maybe you'll key in a bit more with one of the EDs on that particular area, and then we can take it forward, because sometimes it's just easier to kind of streamline it that way. And then support capacity building. Call on stakeholders to invest in capacity building initiatives for KTDMB staff and local communities to enhance their skills and knowledge in development management. But when I say KTDMB staff, it's not just the staff, it's also the MDAs themselves. So it can, that's one way, but also we want to, roll it out. So if it's something that we identify, we want in-house, we want to open it up to others and say, okay, we're having this training. If you're interested, let us know. So then we have the numbers, we know the interest, and then we can set up shop appropriately. And then in terms of championing sustainable development, urge all stakeholders to adopt sustainable practices and prioritize environmental stewardship in their development activities. That's just key. I think everyone knows how important the issue of climate change is and how it's a key priority. And I think focus in a state being a state that's kind of facing issues like desertification, climate change, so, and just kind of to have more resilience in terms of those areas. But I think it's just good practice to be environmentally conscious with everything that you do. And also it's a way of kind of looking at saving costs as well. So if you do things where you're recycling, reusing, minimizing wastage, you're again reducing costs, so you're being more efficient. Embrace innovation. Encourage the exploration of innovative solutions and technologies to address development challenges and accelerate progress. So this is where we talk about, as a state, where we're looking to digitize as well, even more. So trying to avoid analog kind of processes, so everything is just very accessible wherever you are, and you're not maybe necessarily having to always visit an office. You can just go online and see it, and maybe it's just more of a follow-up rather than having to bring everyone. But we know it takes time, so no problem. Where we're at, we'll still do that engagement, because that's important too. It's good to have that face-to-face engagement. But again, sometimes just to save time, we can do the whole online approach as well. That kind of helps. And then promote inclusivity. Advocate for inclusive development that benefits all segments of society, leaving no one behind. So that's where we continue to identify maybe marginalized groups and individuals, and to kind of key in and make sure that we're including them in the conversation, whether that's gender, whether that's IDPs or persons with disabilities, even out-of-school children as well. And then you can kind of keep going down the kind of ranking in terms of seeing where the needs are. And you can also look at the situation. As we know right now, the cost of living is quite high, and the fact that we've talked about malnutrition and things of that nature. So where do we need to prioritize? And depending on what's happening, we have to maybe make those changes and shifts in terms of where we're prioritizing. And then in terms of sharing success stories, so as I mentioned earlier, encourage stakeholders to share their success stories and lessons learned to inspire others and contribute to the collective knowledge base. So it's just important to make sure we continue to document, because often you'll see maybe a program has happened, or a session has happened, or a conversation has happened, but there's no follow-up, there's no documentation, there's no write-up, there's no report. And it's the same with maybe somebody goes training abroad or to a function abroad, but there's no report. So what do you want us to do from there? Like, it's in terms of maximizing impact and making the most out of anything, any spend, and you're getting value for money, and you're actually getting something out of it, and it's not just a nice to have. So again, this is just the final call to action in terms of joining the movement, inviting everyone to join the movement for a prosperous, equitable, and sustainable Katsina state. But I know that's why I say Katsina state, we want it to be that model state, because we want this to be replicated. It shouldn't just stay here. We want everybody to progress and have everyone carried along as well, whether that's the Northwest, whether that's wider Nigeria, but also we want to be that case study. When you're talking about development, that Katsina state is used as that case, okay, this is the state that's done well and gone from this point to this. So again, I'd just say thank you everyone for listening and for your time, for being here. And so I'm sure we'll continue this conversation. It doesn't stop here. This is just the beginning, and we hope to keep seeing you. Please do reach out. Our doors are always open, and yeah, we'll keep that synergy going. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Can we do better? Round of applause for the Executive Secretary. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the climax of the conversation. Today is just an opening, so that one, like we rightly mentioned initially, to know that the board exists. Two, to agree to work together to achieve the mandate of the states. Three, to share resources, information, and data as appropriate. 4, to partner as appropriate as possible. 5, to support capacity building and strengthening the system so that we deliver results for the people in the state. At the end of the day, what we are just seeing is good people of the state are happy with any of the intervention that the state will be doing moving forward. So each and every one of us here is a critical stakeholder in achieving that, whether directly or indirectly. And this is just an eye-opener. The communication and the conversation and the interaction will continue. Only that in coming days, it will be sector-based, with the whole education and social services, the whole health issues, agriculture, so that we have a small but bigger group in terms of capacity, so that at the end of the day, the quarterly engagement will be more of holistic, having a larger group, but then in between, we're happy to be having a small group to the thematic areas so that we take it logical. And we are also calling on all other partners here, please, especially part of your funding for system strengthening. It is good that we also co-fund this kind of activities so that together we deliver results for the states. We look forward to the next engagement, and we are opening the conversation for any organization that is intending to host this kind of event for the states so that we will continue to optimize the result. Other than this, except if there is any other pressing issue, we would like to draw the curtain for today, especially because it's a short day and some need to travel for additional 2 and 3 hours. So is there any other pressing issue? Yes, please. Okay, we are now making it pressing.
Just a question. and perhaps information if we could get such from the INGOs. And that's, you've been working with our people locally here. So I believe you maintain a database. The board is working on a dashboard where you'll be able to track SDGs and other development things in Katsina. So if you want to track something, you can. You're building capacity already by engaging the locals. So if we can have such records of those you've been working with, their location, names, how we can reach them. So that way we don't have to engage others. We can work with them, strengthen them, and perhaps they can train others if the work is a lot. So I just want to see how we can, maybe in the next, after the communique is ready, if we can have such an information sent to us as well, then we can be able to collaborate further, maybe in different sectors, education, health, and all that. Let's know who you've been working with, where is their location, so we don't have to send somebody from Katsina to go to Daura and do something when you already have done something similar in Daura. So we can start doing all these kind of clusters and mapping them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kabir. I think this is very important. Moving forward, let's share this kind of ideas. It will help a lot. Finally.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. I'm Yusha El Sunais. I just want to appreciate the gathering. At a very young age, I was opportune to travel around the world, 14 countries. And what I see there, it inspired me to come back to Nigeria and see how I will, do my little contribution. So last year, I had the opportunity to work with Commonwealth, and it was a huge money. But when I was asked to, I was given employment in Katsina, so I decided to stay back. Along the line, I was actually regretting turning down the work in the UK. But today, I believe I made the right decision to stay, because this conversation has given me hope that Katsina is going to be great. And really, I'll be part of the journey. Thank you very much for organizing this.
Thank you very much, El Sunais. Thank you very much, everyone. Would like to inform you that for reason of redesign of plans, His Excellency would have been here, but then for some reasons, he will not be able to make it because he's already attending another event in Charanchi and it's not done, and of course, it's already prayer time. Finally, we will do the closing prayers and the second standard of national anthem. Thank you. It is not the new one, so people will not only get a reward for only listening, but in the coming time, I think we should be doing that as adequately as possible. So I would like to request for a volunteer for the closing prayer, after which we will stand up for the second standard of the national anthem before we close.
Okay. Salu ala Nabi al-Karim. We thank Allah for making this gathering successful, and we are still praying to Allah to strengthen and make all what we have discussed fruitful for the development of the state and the country at large.
All right, we are going to stand up for the second standard of the national anthem, and we are going out for the group photograph immediately after this. Okay, so after the count of 2, we are going to do the second standard. Can we be silent, please?